Welcome back to Bachelor Tea Party. I'm Lauren Herbert, filling in for Zuri this week, but she will be back next week. And today we, of course, are still joined by Ashley Iaconetti Haibon and her hubby, Jared, this time around. Before we get into last night's episode of The Bachelor, we need to talk about Matt James breaking his silence about the racist allegations against Rachel Kirkconnell and the interview between Chris Harrison and Rachel Lindsay. Matt says it was devastating and heartbreaking watching it all unfold in real time. What did you guys think about his statement?
I think it says that we're going to see a lot on After the Final Rose.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very well worded, very well articulate. Matt is a very intelligent man, and he is so well spoken, and this statement is exactly how I thought it was going to play out. This entire time, I've been saying this for a while now, I feel like the person that's just getting no attention here is Matt, and he's the person I feel worst for throughout this entire process. Like, not only does he have the pressure of being the first Black Bachelor, he also has to, deal with a situation where he probably picks Rachel. Do we know? We have no idea. But judging by Chris Harrison's interview and all the rumors online, he probably picks Rachel and then finds out afterwards that she has this past about her that she had yet to address, and then I don't know. I just feel bad for the guy. Like, he's going through so much, and he even says in the statement, the past few weeks have been some of the most challenging of my life. And I believe it. And I feel like everybody's talking about Chris or Rachel Lindsay or Rachel Kirkconnell. And I'm like, what about Matt? Like, this is the guy that my heart pours out to right now. If he did find love on the show, and if he does pick Rachel, and then that probably is all falling apart, who knows? And then he's also the first Black Bachelor and all the pressure that comes with that. He even talked about it on the first episode about the idea of like, well, what happens if I pick a white woman? Am I going to get, are people going to have certain expectations for me? And like, it's just,
the fact this guy was plucked from obscurity and ends up with this cluster.
Yeah,
it's just like
never been in front of the camera.
Like,
he's never a part of the Bachelor franchise.
What did I sign up for? I mean, I know he's proud to be in this role as the first Black Bachelor, and I'm sure he appreciates having a platform with this. But I do just feel like he's like, I didn't know that I was going to just have so much.
Yeah. It's just a lot of, heaviness.
A
lot of heaviness.
Yeah, like even like, Rachel Lindsay obviously has been a pioneer in this franchise, and she's taken upon herself to really speak out and talk about what it's like being a person of color in the franchise. And she's she's done that so well that I think we just take for granted, like, oh, Matt is gonna he's gonna love having all this pressure on him and have to speak out upon all these things. And it's like, you just forget, like, he's just, he's a human. And like, I can only imagine what he's going through right now. And I hope he's doing well.
But also in his statement, he did call for change with ABC. He was like, this is the time to change things, to make things better. So what do you guys think ABC should do to respond to Matt's call for change?
I mean, I think that a lot of it has to do with screen time for people of color. When you look at if you go to this Instagram, it's called Bachelor Data, you can see that although they made up such a chunk of this cast, they're still not getting the airtime that some of the white women are. So I feel like it's not just casting people of color, but also showing and demonstrating those strong love stories.
Yeah, and I think the show can really sit down with not only, people such as Matt or Marcellus or anybody who's calling for change, but also just, sit down with people of all different types of backgrounds and all different types of diversity and say, okay, well, what can we do better? What are some of the things, and have Bachelor fans come in who are not white and, who watch the show for many years and say, hey, listen, what are things that you think we can be doing better at, and just trying to work on that. I don't know.
Well, like you said previously, Jared, that you know, a lot of people are speculating that he does end up picking Rachel. And then after he made this statement, it was kind of clear. And then obviously there were people that were talking that they have broken up. This is all hypothetical. Oh, by the way, we have nothing confirmed. But were you guys surprised? Like, would you be surprised if they did end up together and now they're broken up?
Like, think about all the previous leads that we were talked about within the Bachelor franchise, and we talk about how much pressure they're going through and the anxiety and the emotional side of trying to find the person they might spend the rest of their life with, and getting on one knee and doing all these things. Think of that. That is what Matt is going through.
Mm.
And then you have everything else. You know, it's like, so we're all just forgetting like the emotional toll that comes from just being the lead, having to break up with 30 women before possibly getting engaged.
To me, it's always being given that opportunity to be the lead, and then all of a sudden you're engaged and then broken up. Like, that's just.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, this is all hypothetical. We truly have no idea, but it's just, I mean, how do we not talk about it? Like, it's just,
right.
Matt putting out this statement and that interview that happened and the conversations that have been going on, like, it's impossible not to speculate what happens, what is happening. You know, how is Matt feeling right now? Because everything that's happened has happened after filming.
But I do want to know, though, for me watching Hometowns last night with Rachel, you know, it was kind of hard to not think about everything that's going on outside of the show. I mean, it's the show, but like in real time. And it was so clear watching it that the two have this instant chemistry and that she is his front runner. Were you guys feeling the same way, or was it just me?
There's just no competition, to be honest. And they're not even like kind of hiding it, because, and it's obvious just using this one example. He said to her, "I'm falling in love with you," weeks ago. When Michelle says it, he doesn't say anything back. And we would probably think that Michelle would be his second place. But he looks happy, you know, when she says it. And then
Yeah.
Bree says it, and he looks like, oh crap. Like, I don't know, his facial expression said, "oh crap" to me, because I think he feels like he's leading her on at this point. And then Serena's gone. It's just like Rachel stands alone, in my opinion, as far as his heart.
Jared, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's the clear front runner, which is why we're all speculating. Does he?
She wins.
Like, if we felt like, oh,
Could
Rachel.
you imagine after all this, she doesn't even win?
I know, and then you know.
There's no way. That's the thing. It's just the way everything's playing out. It's like, yeah.
That would be the biggest twist of them all.
Now that would be a Bachelor plot twist.
Yeah.
It really would. Okay, so we got to talk about the other hometowns now. Let's move on, switch gears. We're not going to do our throwing shade segment. We're just going to get into the hometowns this time around. So Michelle had, I thought it was such a cute hometown date. I fell in love with her parents, and also how she had her students ask Matt all these questions over Zoom was so cute. What did you guys think about their connection?
The moment that made my heart like most flutter in this episode was when the kids were on that Zoom call. They're like, "Hi!" It was so sweet. It said a lot. It was one of those dates where like you actually get to know a person. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you bring kids into a group, well, in this case, a one-on-one or hometown, you know, that's a nice check right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially since he works with kids too. They're very compatible.
I know, I loved it. And the whole time I was watching, I was like, please pick Michelle, but I know you won't, but I want you to, especially with the kids. Their questions they were asking were quite, I mean, I don't know if the producers gave them those questions or what, but I was very impressed.
Seriously, they were
I'm sure they had a little help.
They had a little help. And I was also very impressed with her parents. I loved them. I thought they were so sweet.
They were so nice. She definitely gave him the chillest of all the hometown dates. They were pretty open to the idea of the Bachelor process. They seemed to trust her. The two of them seemed to be great relationship role models. Just like, yeah, they're very sweet. Their conversations didn't sound like judgy. We see with Rachel and Bree's parents, there was a little bit of, tude towards Matt.
Right. Now let's move on then to Bree. they had this off-roading excursion, which I thought was fun because she said it was payback for their date. And it did seem like they had that chemistry and connection, but it was just, I don't think it even compared to even Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's done. I don't know. It's just not there anymore. I feel really bad. I feel like it's even like on his face where he's like,
sure.
I know that you're my next cut.
Yeah. I'm sure, as a lead, you get to a point where you're just like, well, I know who I want to pick, or I know who at least like I'm torn between. And unfortunately, she's not one of the two.
She told Matt that she was falling in love with him, and he just, like you guys said, he just didn't reciprocate. And it's clear that the feelings are not mutual.
No, yeah. And the mom was a tough cookie on him too. She goes, we know Matt's been dating. It's like, it's not his fault he's the bachelor.
I know. I always find that interesting when parents are like, well, you're dating other people. And it's like, well, do you know the show?
That your
do you know what I have to do?
Yeah.
Because Rachel's dad was also the same way.
His dad was the exact same way. I get being protective,
Of course.
but I know that some of it's probably being a little hammed up because they're on the show, but you can't villainize the Bachelor.
Yeah, you kind of have to put it into the context of course you want to protect your child, but your kid also signed up for a show that you knew, that she would be competing with other women for this one person.
Can we talk about Rachel's dad a little bit for a second?
Yeah, we can.
I actually really appreciated that Matt didn't ask for her hand in marriage or any of the women's hands in marriage to the parents. He said, but he of course only said to Rachel, I did not ask your dad because I want to do it when there's not 4 other women there. And it's like, that to me had like, I'm picking you written all over it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wait to ask you until I cut the other ones, and then I'll propose.
Yeah.
And also, while we're talking about Rachel's hometown, that skydiving crash, the way she fell super hard and the way he rushed to her was also just a very clear sign that.
Well, I mean, honestly, I would hope that he would have rushed to her no matter who was.
I know. Also that, because that was really hard.
She went down hard. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, I think she might have broken a bone or two, because it looks like she just, boom, face plants. And then, anybody who skydived, I haven't skydived, but I've talked to enough people to realize, you're coming in hot. I know it kind of looks like you're just floating down, but you're still probably going 20 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Why don't you run 20 miles per hour into a wall and see how that feels, And so she went down.
But he basically said all the things in that statement. He basically said, I see my future with you. You are the one. Because that's how I interpreted it when he goes, that really put things into perspective. Like, I thought we're just getting started here. Interpretation, you're the one.
I have to agree with that. It's clear. And I think, I don't know, for me, I thought the second after Michelle and I think Serena were tied for maybe his second, because then we see him and Serena, they're having a great time, but she ends up obviously sending herself home. And the way he said that, I've spent the most time with you and that was intentional, made me think, well, what does that mean?
It could mean one of two things. One, he felt like he needed more time to figure out how far she was gonna go. Maybe that she told him, I'm slow in relationships, so I need more time, but he wanted to give her that time because he felt that much for her. Or it could have just been that he was that into her and he wanted to spend that much time with her. I think it's probably the first option, because I think that Rachel was ahead of her for sure, but I think that Serena is probably right below.
Yeah, he was probably being honest. He was like, I wanted to spend the most time with you, and that was intentional because you're someone that, you are the final two in his head. It's you or Rachel. And so that's what, because he was probably also a little shook up in that moment, because then he probably realized, okay, now I'm picking Rachel. Like it was probably almost like a validating the fact that like, okay, it was either going to be her or Rachel, and now it's Rachel because Serena's gone.
Totally. I think that when she was breaking up with him, he was obviously upset, but he was like, it's okay because it's gonna be Rachel.
Well, I'm also he might have been upset too, just from the fact that like it's all, you know, when you're the lead and then like it's like, okay, now it's like, I hope I'm right.
It's just sad to be dumped in general. It doesn't matter if you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with that person or not.
Well, that leads us into my last and final question for you guys. So the Women Tell All was previewed at the end of this. Seemed dramatic, seemed very dramatic. We had Serena come back. We had Victoria in the spotlight. What do you guys think is going to go down? And what do you guys hope will go down?
I don't know. Women Tell All is exhausting.
That's a great answer.
Women Tell All. Women Tell All is exhausting to me because I feel like usually it just regurgitates old drama and it still never really gets settled.
It's going to be the Victoria show.
Just Victoria and her explanation of things is probably what I'm most interested in.
She's not going to. You think that she's going to take accountability for her actions?
No, I don't. And that's actually why I'm interested to see like a girl who's watched this whole season and still can't do it.
I mean, I'm sure she'll apologize a little bit, but judging by Victoria and her personality, or at least we've seen on the show, I have a feeling that she's going to be doubling down on a lot of things.
I also think so too. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Until then, thank you guys. Thank you, Jared, for stepping up and coming and joining us today because it was super fun. And this wraps up this episode of Bachelor Tea Party. Make sure you check out our Bachelor Tea Party Facebook page, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.